Alright, so coming off the Hoover backpack video, we have another backpack. I kind of decided it was cheaper to buy this one than it was to replace parts on the gray one. Oddly, this one is also an 8 amp motor, but this one is an Amtech, and I'm guessing it's Italian because it looks very much like the motor in my pneumatic Henry, the 620 watt. But they've made some improvements on this, so let's go into that a little bit. I know with my previous model I had a problem with the cloth bag sealing down over the motor inlet. So with this, they put this plastic plate in place in order to prevent it from sealing. All it really does is it forces the air to go around the outside into these ridges, but it does seem a lot better than allowing it to seal on there. And then as for the cloth bag, I thought it was all going to be like this Microtex type material or whatever they call it, but to my dismay, I found that they included more of this really almost silky like material that the original bag was made out of, and I think it's very restrictive. Because let's just show you guys this. Okay, so when I turn the machine on, you're going to notice that it really hugs the sides of this, and then if I try to pull on it, there's a lot of resistance, so I'm guessing that this... So I'm guessing it's a really restrictive material. But even so, with it not being able to seal down to the motor inlet, it certainly seems like it has better flow to it. But let's get this thing put back together so we can do the usual tests on it. Ah, yes, and the other improvement, they added these ridges for structural stability, because with my other one, it developed a crack right across here, so these prevent it from flexing quite as much when the suction sealed off. So they definitely kind of took note of things that were wrong with their prior models, or could go wrong with them, I should say, and clearly they've worked to improve it, so good on them for that. But we'll get on to the usual. Now we may see a more drastic reduction in the airflow between the machine body and the hose here, because this one uses an 1.25" hose versus the standard 1.5 that's generally seen on backpacks. So if we have a larger gap than like that Hoover one and this, don't be too surprised. Now I can hear a fair amount of leakage coming from the hose connector. It is kind of a loose connection right here. There's nothing really in the way of a seal, so that's not too surprising. And I'm not going to bother doing, all the wand tests on this because I had to borrow all the wands from my pneumatic Henry. So it's all a very similar setup to that. Well, it's the same setup. So I just didn't think it was necessary to redo all that. Plus, I have at least one more machine to test, and I'd just like to get done. We jumped up a little bit. One of these days I'd like to make a little holder for this so I don't have to sit here and hold on to these. But it appears that's the highest we'll get. So lots of leakage. Right around here, right around here. But still, despite all that, it's not too bad. Just anywhere there's a joint on this, really. I will say this one's fairly comfortable, mostly because it's small and it doesn't weigh a huge amount. But the switch is a little awkward to get to once you're actually wearing it. Little snow plowing, but yeah, I mean, other than its form, it's really nothing too different, too spectacular. It's, essentially a canister you wear.